I'm a 33-year-old woman who lost my husband Jim 13 months ago when he was only 34. Jim and I had been married for 7 years, raising 4 children together until his passing. Jim's oldest son, Kyle, a tween, was from his previous relationship. Kyle's mother wasn't actively involved in his life. She would occasionally come around, only to remind Jim she still had parental rights, but didn't reliably show up to parent Kyle. Over time, Kyle's maternal family had minimal involvement, which only declined further. They often disagreed with me taking on the primary caregiver role while Jim worked, sometimes going as far as trying to alienate Kyle from me. They'd tell him I wasn't his real mom, or that I was trying to keep him from his real family. This caused tension, and after Jim put his foot down and said no more contact, the situation escalated to court. Eventually, they were granted visitation with Kyle once every 2 months, although they didn't always use it. When Jim passed away, Kyle's maternal grandparents filed for custody. The guardian ad litem was appointed, and during the process, Kyle expressed that he wanted to be with his real family, the people he considered to be his grandparents on his mom's side. He said he felt exhausted by me keeping him from them. This, along with their stable home and financial advantage, led the court to grant them custody. My husband's parents were devastated, and when it became clear that the grandparents wouldn't allow Kyle any contact with his siblings, they were hurt and turned their frustration on me. They made comments, questioning whether I'd ever truly loved Kyle and asking how I could let him go. I asked them to stop, explaining that we were already dealing with immense grief. The truth is, I love Kyle deeply and always have. I wanted to be his mom and thought of him as my first child. If he came back tomorrow and wanted to live with us, I'd embrace him without hesitation. I sent him to his grandparents with a few of his dad's belongings, but I know he's struggling with loyalty conflicts, and that the instability caused by his maternal family created a trauma that affected our bond. Letting him go may be the only way to protect him from further turmoil, and to give me the space to care for my 3 biological children, who are also grieving their dad. On Saturday, Jim's parents came over to spend time with the kids. They told me that Jim would be ashamed of me for letting Kyle go, and for some reason, this just pushed me over the edge. I lost my temper in front of the kids, and told them that Jim would have been much more understanding than they were being. He would never have wanted them to treat me with such heartless disregard. After that, I asked them to leave. They were furious with me for speaking to them like that in front of the kids. Am I the one in the wrong? It's amazing. Somehow it's acceptable for them to criticize you in front of the kids, but wrong for you to defend yourself? You're definitely not the one at fault here. If Kyle told the judge he wanted to be with his grandparents, there's nothing you could have done to change that. Grieving can make people behave thoughtlessly. It's unbelievable at times. They asked, "How could you let him go?" As if hiding him in the attic were a legal option. As for Kyle's maternal grandparents, words fail me. They're impossible to reason with. Jim's parents might think they're helping with their insensitive remarks, but they're clearly grieving and likely redirecting their pain toward you. Still, their behavior is wildly inappropriate under the circumstances. Do they think it's easy being a young, recently widowed mother of 3, while also having to contend with the maternal side of your stepson's family? I just wish Jim's parents would offer you more support, less judgment, and definitely less grief. Maybe you can eventually talk with them about what you really need from them, or maybe that's just not an option. Either way, you're not the one at fault here, and I hope things start looking up for you. My younger brother, Owen, 32, and his fiancée, Ellie, 25, are no longer speaking to me and are now considering uninviting me from their wedding in August. This all stems from an incident back in December, but Ellie's still holding a grudge and has convinced Owen to avoid me and the rest of the family. He's become noticeably distant since their relationship began. It was about 9:30 p.m. on Christmas night. My nephews were crying and acting out, My mom was stressed with all the cooking, the guests were getting drunk and loud, and my husband was also drunk and pushing my last nerve with his jealous attitude. I was exhausted and at my breaking point. Ellie approached our table with a dessert plate in her hands. She could clearly see I was stressed, but instead of offering, "Hey, Natalie, I can tell you're overwhelmed. Do you need help?" she just stood there. All she'd done all day was make an appetizer, set a few plates, and tend to my brother, who'd had too much to drink. Meanwhile, I had been cooking, cleaning, and helping my mom since the morning. Owen is always late, and Ellie never pushes him to step up or pitch in. She started eating the dessert I'd spent so much time making and didn't even say, "These pastries are amazing." So I commented, "Hey, it must be easy being a guest after 3 years of knowing your family." Right away, my brother came over, clearly intoxicated, and tried to tell me off. I explained why I was frustrated with Ellie for not being more helpful. Ellie bluntly replied, "What are you talking about? Am I not allowed to enjoy a holiday?" I told her, "Sure, you can enjoy it, but at least act like a family member." She walked away, and I lost it, snapping, "You know what? From what Owen told me, I bet this is way better than holidays with your family. You should just go back to their trailer park next year and lay around all you want." She doesn't actually live in a trailer, but if she did, I realized that would have been an especially rude comment. I only said it because I was having a rough night and she rubbed me the wrong way. I essentially implied she was trashy just because of her upbringing. She spent every holiday with us because her own family is a complete mess and she hasn't spoken to them in years. She's the third generation to grow up without a father and the woman who raised her lives off Social Security in poverty. I must have hit a sore spot. My brother and I had a long conversation the next day, but I haven't really spoken to either of them since. I tried to apologize, but I'm not sure what else to do to make things right. So your husband wasn't helping because he was too busy getting drunk, and your brother was also no help because he was intoxicated, but you chose to take it all out on Ellie. There was no reason to bring her family into this, so yeah, you are in the wrong here. The irony of blaming her for your brother being always late is almost funny. He's a grown man, and his timing is hardly her responsibility. Ellie was clearly the scapegoat here, and it's obvious OP doesn't hold any of the men in her life accountable for anything. Ellie even took the high road and walked away from OP's rant, yet OP still felt the need to hurl insults. Why is it only the women in your family who end up doing all the work? Why aren't you directing any frustration at the men who didn't pull their weight? Why should Ellie be expected to do more or get more credit than your husband and brother? If you were feeling unsupported, did you ask the men for help? Or did you just sit there getting increasingly resentful, directing passive aggression at Ellie as if she was the one lacking manners? Given how you acted, you're not in any position to criticize her. I'm 31, and my fiancé, Sam, 35, and I are getting married soon. His brother, 41, and his brother's wife, 34, are due to have a baby any day now, so their child will be around 7 or 8 months old when we tie the knot. We live about an hour away from my in-laws, including his brother, sister-in-law, mother, and father. The wedding venue is a 4 to 5 hour drive for all of us. Just 2 months before they announced their pregnancy, they told us very clearly that children weren't in their immediate plans. At that time, they were living with her parents. She's an only child, and he just switched jobs. So while we were thrilled for them, we were also confused by how they went from no kids, we aren't ready, to we're expecting. This baby, though an unexpected joy, has now become the only priority for my in-laws in a way that feels hurtful. We're planning a child-free wedding, with only one exception for my future nephew. My fiancé asked his brother to be his best man, though my sister-in-law isn't involved in any part of the wedding except as his plus one. Originally, my mother-in-law had offered to co-host my bridal shower with my mom. But later, she told me she no longer had the time to help plan because she'd be assisting with childcare for my sister-in-law. Though this was disappointing, my mom will still organize an amazing bridal shower. I also rescheduled my wedding dress shopping trip because my mother-in-law didn't want to travel 2 weekends in a row for dress shopping and a baby shower. Meanwhile, my fiancé was hoping his brother would plan a bachelor party. Originally, they were considering an international trip, but now, with his new role as a father, his brother doesn't want to travel far. My fiancé is frustrated because the domestic locations they're considering are actually farther away than some of the original international options. Now, with the baby due any day, my brother-in-law has also asked that we give them access to the bridal suite, the designated area at the venue where we'll be getting ready and relaxing, so they have a place to care for the baby during the wedding. We were both upset. I'm fine with having their child at my wedding because I understand how attached parents can be. However, I'm not okay with making accommodations for a child who could easily not be there. Since my sister-in-law is an only child, we offered to invite her parents, assuming they would stay at the Airbnb and care for the baby. They didn't like this option, even though the Airbnb is booked, and I'm not exaggerating when I say it's just around the corner from the venue. We also suggested a ceremony-only option, allowing them to leave during the cocktail hour, but that didn't work for them either. It's clear that my fiancé's family's priorities have shifted to revolve around this child. I don't want to feel resentful towards the baby or my sister-in-law, but before we even finalized our menu, we were asked how to make our wedding comfortable for a baby we didn't expect would be there. Am I the idiot for saying, no, you cannot use the amenities provided to us as the bride and groom to give your kids some milk and a nap? You're not the idiot. If it becomes too overwhelming, you can tell your sister-in-law that maybe they shouldn't bring the child. Prepare for some backlash, weather the storm, and when it's all over, you might find your sister-in-law or even your mother-in-law boycotting your wedding, or they may be grateful that you allowed them to bring the child at all. Keep in mind, it's not your mom and sister, it's your soon-to-be husband's family. Let him handle their relationship. You need to focus on your boundaries and ensure his family doesn't walk all over you. Stop discussing it with them. You've offered options, and if they don't like them, they can find alternatives or stay home. It's not your responsibility to make accommodations for their baby. They have no problem expressing their boundaries, so your fiancé should feel the same way. If there's any fallout, just say, I'm sorry you feel that way, but the answer is still no, and stand firm. Also, make sure to inform the hotel and wedding coordinator that no one has permission to enter that room. In this situation, everyone's acting a bit unreasonable. They can ask, but it's not like you're the Pope, who can't be bothered by the masses. Still, I see nothing wrong with allowing them to use the space since they are his family. Your whole attitude seems to say, it's my day, why should I care about a baby? It doesn't matter if the baby wasn't planned, it's on the way, and yes, your soon-to-be in-laws will likely care more about that than your wedding. I can see your future brother-in-law dropping out of the wedding if you or your fiancé push this issue too far. While you might be okay with this in the short term, it will affect the rest of your lives with this family. I have 2 sons, Robbie, a teenager, and Cameron, a preteen. Robbie had an awards banquet for his team, and the whole family attended. Every year, they hold a raffle with various prizes. I bought each of my sons a roll of tickets and told them to put in for whatever they wanted. Cameron really wanted a Lego kit and a remote control car, so we used most of his tickets for those. At the event, there was another boy, probably a little younger than Cameron, who kept running around claiming he would win the remote control car. Everyone just smiled and said, "We'll see." When it was time for the raffle, Cameron won the Lego kit a few draws later and then also won the remote control car. When the other little boy's parents explained that he didn't win, he broke down in a massive tantrum, screaming and crying. His dad had to carry him out because he was causing a scene. We were sitting with two other families at our table, and one of them suggested that Cameron should give the car to the little boy. Cameron refused. They looked to me for backup, and I said, "It's his choice." I then changed the subject. The little boy came back to our table a couple of times, but didn't say anything. He just stared at the car, which I thought was fine. Later, a friend mentioned that a few others felt Cameron should have given the car to the little boy since he had already won something. I explained that this is how raffles work and that it's a valuable lesson for kids. There have been times when my sons haven't won anything at raffles or similar events, and they learned early on that it's all about luck. It's worth noting that I've never spoken to this child's parents. I know the mom casually because our older sons have hung out a few times, but I don't know her well. My husband wondered if we should have encouraged Cameron to give the car away. Am I the idiot for saying no? You're definitely not the idiot. A child throwing a tantrum because they didn't get what they wanted is not your problem to fix. It's absurd that other families would make such comments. You could have told them that if they felt so strongly about it, they were welcome to buy the child something themselves. Your son got lucky, and punishing him for that would make no sense. If your child had a tantrum, would you expect others to give him things just to appease him? If this were my child, I would be furious if other parents offered to give away their prizes. Kids have tantrums. Believe me, mine does, but I don't give in to them. The most frustrating thing as a parent is when you're trying to enforce a boundary, and some nosy person tries to give the kid something anyway. Do they really think I don't have a quarter for the vending machines? I'm trying to teach her that she doesn't get something every time we leave the house, especially if she's being difficult. The mindset of those families suggesting gifts to stop a tantrum is exactly how entitled children are raised. Honestly, I'm glad you defended your son. I hope he enjoys his car and Lego. My wife and I just welcomed our first, and likely only, child around Christmas. My mother-in-law came to stay with us to help, but she was not helpful at all. She constantly disagreed with our methods and only helped with the baby, which meant my wife ended up doing a lot of housework instead of getting the chance to relax. By the time I got home, I find my wife exhausted and her mom competing with me for time with our child. I'd prepare dinner for the three of us and do what I could to tidy up before crashing for the night and starting the cycle all over again. I tried discussing the situation with my wife, but she wouldn't confront her mom. When I spoke to her mom, she claimed she wasn't there to be our maid. She was just there to help with the baby. I reached my breaking point and booked her a flight home 3 days before it was scheduled. I thanked her for her assistance and told her we'd handle things from there. Now she's upset, claiming I'm ungrateful for everything she did for us and that she took time off work to help. She even took to social media to cry about it. Some of her friends and family chimed in, saying I was unappreciative. She drives older adults to appointments and makes about $22,000 a month. It's not a full-time gig. So I gave her $3,000 and said we appreciate that she lost wages to help, which should cover it. I commented on all her posts to clarify that she had been compensated and thanked everyone who reminded me she sacrificed money to assist us. Now she's back home, lamenting that she can't see her grandbaby every day. My wife thanked me for addressing the situation, but some people are now calling me heartless for making it about money. I can't understand that. I don't think I'm the idiot like my mother-in-law claims. You're definitely not the idiot. If she's there to help, she should genuinely be helping, not just holding the baby and adding to your workload. The fact that your wife thanked you shows you handled it well. Her opinion is what matters most. You did a great job. Now, enjoy this precious time with your wife and new baby. Congratulations. Absolutely. When someone is staying with you after the birth of a child, their help should include cooking, cleaning, doing laundry, and perhaps watching the baby so the mom can take a nap or shower. Your main focus should be on caring for the mother, enabling her to take care of the baby. Your mother-in-law is in the wrong here. Great job, Dad.